You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 124. Hey, girl. How are you today? Thank you for showing back up here and listening to another episode of the podcast. If you caught last week's episode, it might have been a little bit of a relief to you to realize that this theory of happiness being a destination is not really something that I believe is true. If you haven't listened to episode 123, I advise you to go listen to it because there's a handful of you who have reached out and told me how mind-blowing it was to hear the episode and my concepts around happiness. So I wanted to expand a little bit on that more today so that we can talk about what happiness looks like if you want to invite more of it into your life without feeling like you're a toxic, positive person. And I'm going to talk you through that. But before I do, I have to share how excited I am. In just over a week, I am heading out to Turks and Caicos. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and listening back in January, early February, you might have heard my episode about my award that I won in my corporate workplace. I won something called President's Club. And through that award, I get an all expenses paid trip, Jack and I, along with the other winners in different divisions in my company, are going to the Ritz-Carlton in Turks and Caicos. So if you're watching on YouTube, you might see I've got kind of a summary outfit on here today because I've been trying on clothes. So I got this cute little romper. It's one of the collab DVF, Diane von Furstenberg, and Target items. You know, Target does this awesome collab every year with a well-known designer. And this one's super cute. So I was just trying it on and I decided to stop and record the podcast and chat with you. And then after I'm done recording the podcast, we have the solar eclipse going on here in Chicago today. So I unfortunately do not have any of those fancy eclipse glasses, but I think I'm going to put my phone on time lapse and see what I can catch of the eclipse. So that's what's up with me. Also, Mother's Day brunch. I was just in Target yesterday and the banners are out in full force, all about Mother's Day being May 12th here in the US. And I posted something on stories yesterday on Instagram because I just felt like, here it goes. And I want to know, what are you going to do to support yourself this Mother's Day? If you find yourself any way, shape, or form desiring to come to the Mother's Day brunch in Chicago, I encourage you. It is not just for people who are in Chicago. I have so many people that I'm absolutely grateful and stoked are deciding to travel in, like by airplane, flying to Chicago to be part of the Mother's Day brunch and to take care of themselves this Mother's Day. And I'll never forget one of the biggest compliments I got, and it was just something that was validating for me about the reason that I put Mother's Day together and put it purposefully the day before Mother's Day. Somebody told me, somebody who had attended the brunch in previous years told me that when Mother's Day came around the next day, she didn't even feel any bit of sadness or heaviness around it because she was still on a high from being part of the Mother's Day brunch the day before. So that is one of the reasons why I chose to do this event the day before Mother's Day, because sure, it's okay if you feel sadness and it's okay if it feels heavy to you. But if you are going out and seeking connection and finding it at the Mother's Day brunch, I'm most certain, can't 100% guarantee, but theory would have it, you will feel so much more supported, recognized, validated through the connections that you are creating for yourself by choosing to put your desires and your thoughts about yourself and the connections that you want to create for yourself first. So that is my ring-a-ding-ding plug for getting your tickets to the Mother's Day brunch, lanamanikowski.com/Mother's Day, May 11th in Chicago. All right. beautiful ones. Let's talk about, if we know that happiness doesn't have to be a destination, how can you create more happiness in your life? And many people think that happiness finds you. I know I used to believe that life just brings you what it's got, it puts it in front of you, and it is up to you how you handle it in order to like make your way through life. And when these heavy things happen, like going through IVF, having infertility treatments fail you, not being able to become a mom, it may feel like the world has just dumped a bag of you know what all over you, and you are just going to have to sift and sort to find something that is good out of that. And I think a lot of people start to believe that anything that feels happy or joyful or freeing in their life, yeah, it's good. Like there's ways that you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But then there's this like zinger that comes in when this high is like all on its way and you're like feeling so awesome about this thing that you're experiencing or this way that you're taking life in. And your brain wants to tell you that this is a consolation prize for not becoming a mom, that this thing is so great. And yes, it's wonderful. And you can't believe that something so beautiful is happening in your life right now. And then your brain tells you, oh, come on, little one. That's not really what you're seeing. What's really happening is this is a consolation prize for you. And this feels really great, but being a mom would feel so much better. Have you ever had that where like something is just going on and you're like, yeah, this is so great. And then your little devil on your shoulder chimes in and says, but not as great as motherhood would have been. And I want to really address why it is that you might be thinking that life isn't giving you these amazing things because they are amazing. And because quite possibly they might be better than motherhood. Maybe we don't even have to compare them to motherhood. Like that is my ultimate way of seeing things. I got so sick of being like, yeah, my life is good, but not as great as this person. Or these wonderful things are happening, but it wouldn't be as great as if I was a mom. So all these things that were going on in my brain that I didn't have any true knowledge about. I don't know how this person's life is. I don't know if their life is better than mine or worse than mine. So why am I going to sit here and compare whether someone's life is better, worse, happier, sadder, more fulfilling, less fulfilling than mine? And just focus on what's in front of me. What are the things that are going on that are just making me feel so good right now? What are the things that you might be experiencing that you've worked really hard for or seem to have just by chance fallen right on your lap in front of you that you are possibly dismissing? Maybe you aren't celebrating these things because your brain is just used to being let down. And that doesn't mean that you're doing life wrong. It doesn't mean that you're a negative Nelly. It just means that your brain is probably trying to protect you and tell you, like, don't get too excited about this thing because it's really not that great. It's not as great as this thing that you've been telling me you've wanted for so long, but your brain hasn't caught up with what's going on in your life. So your brain just needs to know, like, hey, we're not going after that thing anymore. That motherhood thing is not part of this journey anymore. So I, brain, want you to start helping me fall in and embracing the things that feel really good in my life. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have bad things happen, and doesn't mean that you're doing things wrong if you notice things are kind of poopy and gross and heavy and not so wonderful. That's part of life. That's the 50-50 of life. The whole like reason why life isn't happy 24/7, that's realistic. So if you allow yourself to lean into these moments that feel really good, or you feel really at ease. Maybe you find yourself in an environment where life just feels really like free for you. Maybe that could be outside on a walk with your dog. Maybe it's going and sitting at a park and just listening to birds chirping. And that's high in my brain right now because here in the springtime of Chicago, there is some of the most beautiful songs that I'm hearing of these birds chirping. And there's such a relaxation that that gives me and this beauty that I'm like, how in the world did I end up sitting here on this park bench, being able to listen to this thing that gives me so much relaxation and joy? And I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that had I had my children, I would probably still be living in my dream house that I sold because that was the house I thought I was going to bring my babies home to. But we've sold that house and we're now renting an apartment around this beautiful park with these beautiful vistas that I don't know, but I don't think I probably would be living here if I had little kids running around. So I get to experience these things. And instead of looking at them as a consolation prize or as yeah, but that's not as good as motherhood would be, I've decided to just enjoy it and just feel so grateful and feel so immersed in this like free and encompassing beauty that goes on around me. And I just want to offer that to you. And maybe for you, it's something different. Maybe you've been working out and you had a workout goal and you've conquered that workout goal. Maybe you've been able to up your weights when you're doing weight training. Maybe you have finally figured out this pattern that you've been trying to work through when you're crocheting or knitting. Maybe there's a meal that you've been dreaming of learning how to make and you finally have figured out how to make it, or a dessert that has the right ratio of flour to sugar and it tastes so good and it feels really good that you finally figured it out. These are the things that I'm talking about that our brain easily just likes to scan over and just be like, oh yeah, big deal. You should have that figured out already. Or come on, seriously, you're really going to celebrate that about you? And I really want you to celebrate that about you because your moments of happiness, the more that you see them, the more that they will come to you, the more that they will be in your forefront, because I believe that there is this magnetic give and take. And I believe that what joy and beauty and recognition you give to those things in your life, the more that you see them, the more that they uncover themselves, the more that they're waiting for you to notice them, the more gratitude you're able to bring into your life by opening your eyes to the beauty that is around you and the happiness that you create in your life by seeing that. And again, not from a place of acting happy for something that doesn't really make you happy, but truly like sitting into something and thinking, wow, after all I've been through, how beautiful that this thing has come forth to me. And I'm able to experience this thing, this very thing right now that gives me a little tickle in my stomach, or maybe even sometimes brings a little bit of water to your eyes because you just can't get over how beautiful and easy life sometimes feels after all that you've been through in your fertility journey. So I love you very much. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next week.